Well, good evening. Time flies when you're having fun. Thank you, Mr. Dennis Beck, MHS graduate, 1975. We always play Dennis's theme song at the beginning of our little podcast, and we appreciate him for that. And speaking of graduation, we've got Reunion Fest coming up in a couple of weeks, and the class of 76 will be having their 50th reunion here at the campus in the old band hall, and that brings a great segue to why we're here tonight, the band hall. We're honored tonight to have a couple of ladies with us today that taught and got their, I think, a lot of their band education from Mr. Lewis, Mr. D. Lewis, and that's one reason that we're all together tonight, because we're going to celebrate his life tomorrow. And we're just really honored to have Glenda Terrill and Cathy Coonis with us. And we're going to talk a little bit more about their lives and their time spent here at Marshfield and under the guise of Mr. Lewis. And it's going to be a really fun night. We really appreciate you coming in for this.
It's our pleasure.
As I said, it's a very informal discussion. We're just going to sit back like we were sitting having a cool one somewhere. Kool-Aid, you know. It's Kool-Aid, Logan. It's Kool-Aid. But, and that's what this is all about. So, with that, we kind of like to start at the beginning, because people kind of like to know who we're talking to and a little bit about both of you. And so we'll start, Glenda, with you. Why don't you just start out telling us a little bit about yourself and where you were raised and maybe your family and that kind of thing, and go from there.
I'd be glad to.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Glenda Terrill, but I was Glenda Cantrell when I first came to Marshfield. I born and raised in Neosho, Missouri, down past Joplin. I went to school at Southwest Baptist, and that's where I was first introduced to the Mr. D. Lewis because of some things there that we'll talk about shortly later. Actually, after I did student teaching with him and then came back a few years later to work alongside him, then we left and went to the mission field, and so my husband and I lived outside of the United States for 27 years. And
27.
So I didn't get to be around D a lot in the latter part, but when we would come back to visit, it was always such a special treat to find him at church and knew exactly where he and Donna were sitting. And so we've kept in touch all of these years, and it's been just a wonderful blessing for us.
That's cool. Now, I graduated in 1977, and I do remember you as a student teacher.
Right.
And I think you were here, what year's student teaching?
I did my student teaching in the fall of 1970.
1970, okay.
Yep. And I was here from October to December.
Okay.
And then I left and went to teach in Central Missouri in Dixon. For 4 years there, and then came back here in 1975.
75, okay.
Yeah.
So I would have had you in 75 as a sophomore, probably.
Yeah.
Would be about right. Yeah. So that's when I remember. Maybe I don't remember you as a student teacher. I would have been, I don't know if I'd have been in the fifth grade, if I'd have been in the fifth grade yet or not.
Maybe.
But I could have been, actually.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay. I do remember you and having you as a teacher. So, and you're married to Lynn?
I'm married to Lynn Terrill, and his brother and sister-in-law and family are still here. So when we do come back to Missouri to visit, we always come to Marshfield.
Right.
Yep, special occasions.
And his brother's Larry. And of course, I know Larry because he's at Elkland and he's got lots of neat vintage memorabilia, car memorabilia, and I've known Larry a long, long time. And they were both Marshfield boys, I guess you might say.
That's right.
Born and raised here, and their dad, I believe, was Ralph, right?
That's
and
right.
Ralph worked at MFA. He was the manager. I carried out groceries at the MFA store when I was 14, and so I remember Ralph, a very, very fine gentleman.
Absolutely. I never got to meet him.
You didn't? Okay.
The interesting thing I can throw in, though, is that after Ralph had passed, at my college graduation, I graduated at the same time as Howard Smith and his wife. And Lynn and Howard were best friends.
Okay.
So Howard's mother brought Lynn's mother to the graduation.
Okay.
So she heard my name and saw my face, but we never met.
Oh, really?
Because she had passed.
She had already passed.
Before Lynn and I married.
Wow.
But we discovered later that was just one of those God things
that's
that
right.
came to be. And
Sure,
it was
sure,
wonderful.
sure. Well, Cathy, let's talk about you for just a minute. Why don't you tell us where you came from? What part of the country?
I think I need to set the record straight because I saw online that the video that was made in Dee's honor when he retired was posted again. And at the end of that, I say something about him being like a father to me and as much of a father as I'd ever had. And I told Ed Filmer to please not use that, but he did.
He did.
Which is, I want to set the record straight. I had a perfectly good father. I really did. He and my mom divorced when I was 4. And he ended up living here in Marshfield. So he has friends here and knew a lot of people here. But he just wasn't in our lives very much. And my mom and he had a good relationship, and he paid, alimony and anything I needed I could ask him for, but we almost never saw him.
I see. I see.
We saw him Christmas and birthdays and maybe a week in the summer until I graduated from college and got on my own and could go and visit him once in a while.
Right.
So like I said, I had a perfectly good father. Some of you know Larry Bain. Wonderful man. Wonderful man. Just D. Lewis was just in my life a little.
Right.
Yeah.
So where did you actually?
I grew up in Republic.
Republic. Okay. Okay.
I have a brother that's 2 years younger and a foot taller than I am, and I like to introduce him as my baby brother. And I went to Republic High School, and during that time, learned to play the saxophone and just fell in love with band. But the odd thing is, during my time there, we went through 4 different band directors. So we didn't have the continuity and the tradition and that was set, But I decided in 8th grade I wanted to be a band director, and I went to College of the Ozarks, which back then was School of the Ozarks.
Yep.
And Leon Bradley, who was the band director there, became another surrogate dad. He was just so wonderful to me. But School of the Ozarks didn't have a marching band. So there were 4 of us in marching techniques class out there on the quad doing skinny minis and step 2 drills and all the Bill Moffat old time, and back in the day where you marched to a position and played a song, and then you marched to another position and played a song, that kind of thing. So after I graduated from there in 80, I taught in Cuba, Missouri, and it was strictly elementary music, but I really wanted to teach band. The band director, Stan Moore, let me start a jazz band there, and it was going okay until basketball season started and my whole brass section left because they had basketball practice.
I see, yeah.
So, but I really wanted to teach band. So a friend of mine that I went to high school with, Kim Wood at the time, had student taught with Dee. And so when he knew Glenda was leaving, he contacted her to see if she was interested, and she said, well, I'm not, but I know somebody who might be, and she contacted me. And so I wasn't going to apply because I had gone to Cuba with the idea of I'm going to stay here for a while and not be somebody that hops around from job to job. But Stan Morris, when I talked to him about it, he said, don't be a dumb butt. He didn't say but. He said, don't be a dumb butt. Apply for that job. D. Lewis. And, of course, I knew D. Lewis and Marshfield Band from all the parades we'd march as Republic Band. We always saw the Marshfield Band and thought, oh, man, it'd be great to be like that.
Cream of the crop.
Yeah. So I knew what kind of a program I'd be stepping into, but I wasn't going to be a dumb butt in Stan Moore's eyes. So I came down and applied for the job, and that was my second job. I remember sitting on Glenda Terrill's front porch and her walking me through everything, because when they told me the schedule, I was going, oh, wow. This is a lot. How does that even work? And she walked me through everything, talked me through it.
And I don't remember that at all.
I just came over to your house. We sat on the front porch for a couple hours and just talked, and that was just great. It helped so much. I taught with Dee for 5 years, and then he retired, and then Bob Altman came 8 years with him and 1 year with Kevin Crowley. And then I left and taught in Springfield for a year. I was at Pershing Middle School and the assistant at Glendale with David Nace. And then Bob Altman called me up and said, I'm the new band director at Seymour. We need a choir director. And I said, I'm not a choir director. And he said, well, you've done fine with all the elementary choirs. And besides, there's only 3 signed up. Oh, great. If we get one more person, we'd have a quartet anyway. So I taught choir there, taught with him a couple of years until he left there. And then I took the band job. Ended up at Seymour for 20 years.
20 years.
And while I was there, I actually did retire. I got this terrific student teacher named Andy Marriage, and he just fell in love with the kids. They fell in love with him. I was kind of on the edge of burnout because I was doing the band program plus some elementary music plus Spanish, and I was just getting tired. And I said, well, if you would consider taking this job, I might retire and see if they would let me stay on as Spanish teacher. And so I got to kind of make my own job.
Yeah,
it was great.
yeah.
And that's what happened. And so the two of us started the field marching program there at Seymour, where they don't have football. I remember D. Lewis saying, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to start marching band? But he just carved out a piece of the cow pasture behind the school, you know, and just did it for fun and experience. And
Do they still have it?
Yeah.
Really?
They're still doing it.
Huh.
It's just great. It really helped build the band a little bit, too, because there are kids that love the marching band, kids that love the concert band. If you get them both in there and keep them.
And they can do parades and, and competitions.
And
so
band.
not the really, there's only like, what, four home football games maybe? Or I mean, you know, if you had a football marching band.
Yeah, 4 or 5.
Four or five,
yeah,
so it's
depending.
not like, you know, there's lots of other things they can do.
Yeah.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. So, Glenda, were you Mr. Lewis's, like, first partner, you might say, or assistant? Or because he was by himself up until...
He was.
Till you were the first one.
I was actually the second.
You were, okay.
But I don't know the person ahead of me. That person was only here for a year.
1 year, okay.
What I can say is this: Dee he was judging junior high programs and concert band things up in Rolla at the University of Missouri in Rolla. And I was teaching near there, so I had enrolled my junior band to go over, and he was the judge. And after the judging was all done, he'd come to me every year and say, why don't you think about coming to work with me?
Yeah.
And I mean, that would have been like going home.
Sure.
I wanted to do it. My heart wanted to do it, but it just didn't seem right. I'd only been there a year, and they'd had 9 band directors, the kids that were in the 9th grade.
Oh, my.
From 5th grade to 9, they just couldn't keep anyone. I thought, I need to stay long enough. So I ended up staying 4 years there.
I see.
But every year after that junior high program, he would stop me and say, hey, what do you think? Will you come this year?
Yeah.
And whoever the band director was at Roll at the time, and I don't remember his name, but he'd say, did Dee talk to you again this year? And I'd say, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So now, had you and Larry
yet.
already got married by that time?
Lynn.
Or Lynn, I'm sorry. Lynn,
No.
Not yet, okay.
No, we
So,
had not.
Okay.
But at some point,
Yeah.
apparently what had happened for 1 year didn't work out really well, and that's when this man said to me, if you're still interested, this is the year to go.
Gotcha.
And so I said, okay, I'll apply. And as I said, I don't even remember the interview. It didn't take very long, and they called me the next morning, and I
awesome.
came. And so I was the first one to come from Southwest Baptist as a student teacher.
Okay.
Because I had wanted to come here, and my band director there said, where would you like to go when your student teaching times comes up?
Yeah.
And I said, well, where I want to go. No one from here's ever been there, because he has so many from SMS at the time and from other places.
Sure.
And there was no one had ever gone, but I'd heard so much about the program, and and my director said, well, I know Dee, I'll talk to him.
There you go.
And so I did get to come and do my student teaching, which was a miracle.
Sure. And then Cathy, you followed her then.
That's right.
Immediately. So
Yeah.
so you two were pretty much the first two to be his, I don't know if you call it assistant or
we
what.
called ourselves assistants.
Right hand
Well, I called him boss, and he called me sidekick. So I was his sidekick.
Yeah.
Well, that's really neat. What a treat and honor for you guys to be in that position in those days, and I'm sure he was just a wonderful mentor and teacher.
Absolutely.
And probably a little intense at times.
Very.
Yes.
Yeah.
There were those moments.
So let's kind of just move into the next phase. Like, so you all both had your careers established, and you were here and went on and did other things, as you mentioned. Well, what in your view did he do to influence you, and what did you accomplish in your role at Dixon, maybe even as you went on into the mission field? Did you teach while you were in the mission field?
I did. Mm-hmm.
And then Cathy, for you, of course, what do you remember that made you a good band director, a very good band director that Dee taught you in those later years that kind of came to fruition as you, well, I guess starting your field band over there, I'm sure his influence there would have been unbelievable, I'm sure.
You go first.
I go first?
Because you were first.
Well, okay, I can say this. When I went to Dixon to teach, the kids didn't know this, but it was like D. Lewis Clone 2.2, because I'd been told many times, you conduct like him. You don't look like him here, but you look like him here. And it was so interesting to start a program that had so many teachers, and the band had dwindled down to almost no good instrumentation level at all. But I knew what to do because I'd watched it happen. And though it was very well established when I was student teaching, I saw what he did with fifth graders. I saw what he did with sixth graders. We worked together on those things in my student teaching time, and I just learned everything I did in teaching was D. Lewis all over again. So it's also interesting when I was working on my master's during the summers while I was at Dixon and finished the year that I came here. And my master's project was develop a band program in a school that's never had one. And at first I went, oh my. And then I went, oh, that's easy. I know the D. Lewis plan. I'll just set it down and put it into
maybe
a
easier
notebook.
Than going into a program that had been well established that was sort of successful. To be able to do that,
Yes, everything that I knew about teaching that was the right thing to do, I learned from D. Lewis.
Wow, cool. Cathy, how about you?
Boy, I had no experience other than just elementary music. So I was so young and so green, and having him as a mentor and a teacher and an example was just the best. Between him and Bob Altman, it was like getting a master's degree in music education. And one of the best things he did for me right off the bat was that first summer, he hooked me up with a lot of the younger students to give them private lessons on everything. I was a woodwind player. I had brass methods and woodwind methods, and you just get a cursory idea of the basics on those instruments, but I wasn't comfortable teaching any of them. So I got some old junker horns that sat there with the trumpet players and the trombone players and learned right along with them. During that summer, did so much to build my confidence and being more effective as a teacher for those kids. And it was everything from oboe to snare drum. I mean, everything. Part of the real genius of his teaching was understanding that if you start the kids out right at the beginning, the rest of the job takes care of itself. If you lay that firm, good foundation at the beginning, he was relentless with that, getting them to do the right thing the right way, training them up. He always said he liked to train beagle puppies, and it was kind of the same thing. But he had this system, that tryout system.
Exactly.
This play testing system. And boy, I tried to emulate that everywhere I went. Yeah, because they just make so much sense to keep track of assessing where they are, where they're having problems, how to fix that. And like I said, you get them started right, then the rest of the time is so much easier.
I wonder if I've thought about this often in this building, because it just brings back all kinds of thoughts, and the people that I've had on this podcast, number one would be probably D. Lewis. The tenure, the time that those long-term teachers and mentors spent. For example, Mr. Barr. Mr. Barr was a principal for 5 or whatever it was years, and then he was a superintendent for 25 years. And when you talk to these to students or to teachers that worked under Mr. Barr, and D. Lewis is kind of the same way, there's such a awesome respect for these men. I mean, like, it seems like we've not had a superintendent since Mr. Barr that's been here more than 10 years. Now, that's no reflection of them. There's been some great superintendents. Marshfield's been very blessed, no question about that. But what is it about someone that's here 30 years D. Lewis, 30 years. Mr. Walker was here, 25 or however many years. And when you look back today at students that came through them or teachers that worked for them, not saying that they were the easiest always to get along with. I mean, I know that they could be fairly rigid. Mr. Barr could be that way, and Mr. Walker could be that way. But the respect, you don't hear that today. You don't really hear people like talk about someone, even as Mr. Lewis has passed in the last couple of weeks, the way that they talk about him. What is it about that? What makes him so remarkable that people that weren't necessarily band students still had ultimate respect for that guy? You thought about that? It's really amazing.
I have thought about it a lot, to tell you the truth, and part of that, or maybe all of that, is that he was disciplined, and he expected you to be disciplined.
Discipline's a very key word there.
And the way he disciplined was incredible.
Yeah.
He wasn't a put down, but he could get your attention pretty quickly.
That's right, yeah.
And I will say this in the morning at the memorial time, he was probably the hardest teacher that almost every student would say they had. But he was also the most respected in so many ways, because they saw the result of what he was doing. He was instilling in them so much more than music.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think also the world we lived in then, it was just a different world, where honor and respect.
Exactly.
And all those words that we learned growing up that is of how we're supposed to be. Maybe many of them are in the scriptures. Today it seems like it's about money, or about glory or about power or whatever. Like, there's many people that don't stay in one place that long because they move on for a bigger and better job, for more money, what have you. But those people back in those days, this is where they wanted to be. They wanted to be here, and they wanted to be the best they could be, and they were the best. I've just thought about that a lot, and what we value today is not what was valued back then in many cases.
And he was a part of the community. He was involved in the
church.
The community.
Yes.
He was out there. People saw him. And the kids, I mean, even when he was giving them a hard time and calling them Peckerwoods, they never for a moment thought that he didn't love them.
Right.
He absolutely cared.
Yeah. That's how we used to be with people. I mean, you get upset, but today it's like, you can't do certain things because of the world we live in or whatever. It's just different, isn't it?
When I was teaching with him, there were always students who were begging to be his, I don't know what they called them, but a helper.
Yes, student helpers.
If they had a study hall, they would rather go help Mr. Lewis. And so he always had kids that were working like that. But when we had come back on one of our stateside times and come to visit, it was in the 90s, I think, he came up to me at church, put his arm around me, he said, "You left at the right time." Yeah. He said, every year it gets harder and harder and harder, and I have fewer kids who want to help.
Right.
And if they sign up for it, I have to beg them to do anything. He said, it's just a different world, and he's, that same idea that you're talking about.
That's exactly right. That's exactly the point I was trying to make. Yeah, very well said. You think about some of the students that were under his guise, and your all's too. I mean, and those that really rose to the top of their profession, and I'll have to brag on my brother a little bit. Barth is, he's as good as anybody at what he does, and he gives all of that credit to Mr. Lewis and those that taught him. And you think about others along the way that.
Yeah, Lori Hutton.
Lori Hutton, another one, absolutely. A Marshfield girl that, and has lived a complete life of music, and there's many like that. Her sister Christy has taught how many students?
Oh my gosh!
Hundreds, if not thousands, students. Even going back to Marty Fogelsong, that would have been under Mr. Lewis, and people like that have taught others and that have been at the top of their game in what they do, and that's what's really intriguing. I mean, to really think about all those people, all those lives that he's made, not just something in their career, but the best in what they do. And you all have done that as well, I'm sure. If you don't mind, tell me a little bit about your mission work. I think that's interesting.
Well, Lynn and I got married the year, and I taught one more year here after that. And one of the fun things is Dee, every time we would come back, Dee would say, "I've never forgiven Lynn. I've never forgiven Lynn."
Yep.
And he said that 3 days before he passed to one of our former students as well. And I know it was a joking kind of way that he did, but I also know what he was saying to me.
Sure.
You know, he cared about me. And so when we decided that the Lord was leading us out of the country into foreign mission work, he cried with me a couple of times, but he said, "But I wouldn't want you not to do what the Lord is asking you to do." And so we first went to South America. We lived in Costa Rica for a year and then 9 years in Colombia. We adopted both of our children as infants in Colombia. Then we came back for a year in between and moved to Eastern Europe because the wall had come down, and they were hunting for people who had some mission experience to move to new places in Eastern Europe. And so then we spent another 17, 18 years there.
Wow.
Living.
Which country was it?
Well, you know, it was a tough one. That first one was Austria. We lived in Vienna for 2 years because at that time that's where Baptist Work had headquarters for Eastern Europe, because we couldn't get into Eastern Europe very easily for a while. So the office where my husband worked was in Vienna. It was a tough assignment, to be in Vienna, of the places of the world who a musician would want to go.
Yeah.
And then we moved to Germany for 6 years because the office moved. And then we moved to Prague, the Czech Republic.
Really?
And we were there 9 more years before we retired.
I bet those were interesting times.
Wonderful years. They were very wonderful. And I mentioned this earlier a little bit. I did get to teach music in a Spanish school in Colombia for a year and a half or so. The band had about 11 people in it. And I'm going, okay, what am I going to do with 3 flute players and 3 trombone players and a drummer and I think
now, Mr. Lewis would have made
and I'm going, what would he do
he would
here?
have made something out of one of them others.
So we had
you're not going to play the drums. You're going to play the trumpet, Lyndall Fraker. Okay, I want to play the drums.
Well, we had to do some ensemble, beginning, that kind of thing. And so, but I was able to teach piano and choir everywhere we lived, everywhere, in all of those places. So that was cool. Fun.
So you taught music the whole time.
I did an awful lot. Privately, mostly in churches,
In all those places you lived, especially in Eastern Europe, did they love the Americans?
The ones that we were around did.
Yeah.
Now, I would say the ones in the Czech Republic were the hardest to get to know because they had such a distrust of everything they'd grown up with the communist background and everything. It was tough.
Yeah.
But we stayed long enough.
Yeah.
And because 9/11 happened while we were living there, you can't imagine the great relationship that they made with us, and they were so sorry.
Really?
We're so sorry this happened. We're so sorry. And they were very, very kind.
Sure. That's neat. So Cathy, you've went on and you've done a ton of stuff since you retired. I mean, you're involved. I see you on Facebook, but I see you on Facebook. You're going to conferences, you're traveling, you're doing all this stuff with music. And tell us a little bit about what all you've done since you were in the classroom, 5 days a week.
I was going to say that I actually got to go visit Glenda.
Oh, did you?
They were in Vienna. We went over to her house for lunch one day, and when she was in Prague, Lori Hutton and I got to see her.
We got to see her twice.
Wow.
That was really exciting. After I left Seymour, I retired for a year, and then so I'd retired, but still working part-time. But then I totally retired.
Sure.
And then a year later, a friend of mine called and said, "Hey, I'm teaching at New Covenant Academy, and I'm going to retire, and do you want the job?" And I said, "No, I'm retired."
Yeah.
And she said, "There's only 3 bands. There's no marching band or pet band." And I thought, I could do that. So I taught at New Covenant for 5 years, and then I retired from there.
Wow.
And then the guy that took my place was there for 2 years, and then he got headhunted by SBU to go teach there late in the summer, and they had trouble finding somebody to take over. So I and a friend of mine, Gina Buxton, who taught in Buffalo for a long time, kind of tag teamed that first semester until they found somebody. And then that semester was pretty much my wake up call that yes, I'm finished being
in the classroom,
all the time.
Yeah.
So I give private lessons, and I teach at Lebanon 1 day a week. I go up there and teach their saxophones, and I teach in the Judy in Springfield, teach lessons, and I'll be teaching a couple of sections of single reed methods at MSU in the fall. And I help out at Parkview with their woodwinds and their jazz band. That's very flexible. The band director used to say, hey, whenever you feel like coming in, great. If you're not feeling great, and which is the way I like to operate.
Sure.
And then I play in 3 jazz bands in our church orchestra. So I'm making up for all the time I didn't have time to play when I was teaching.
Right.
Because you know how that is. So.
Do you live in Springfield?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I ended up driving there all the time. I thought, if I'm going to be driving there all the time, I might as well live there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk a little bit about Mr. Lewis. We've touched upon it, but I'm sure that you all have some stories, funny stories, sad stories, tough stories, easy stories. When we had him on, he was able to recollect a lot more than you might have thought, and I know you guys have viewed that. But and Barth was here, and so he was great to be able to remind him of some of those things, but you guys will have a different take than I do, but and Cathy, you would have been around, I guess, in Barth's era, a lot of his era.
He was a freshman when I started.
Yeah. So the mud and the rain in Columbia, we heard that story, and of course there's always Mr. Lewis's little quirks, like I think he owes like 1,000 Cokes to people and stuff like that. So
he didn't want to break a promise.
Right,
he promised he'd owe you a Coke.
Right.
So if he gave you a Coke, he didn't owe it to
That's
you.
right. So I know that you guys have jotted some things down. So why don't you just share with each of you and some of the things that you maybe can remember that we want to discuss this evening.
Well, I'm going to use a few of those in the morning, so I might back off of.
That's fine.
Although,
You just whatever you want to say.
They're just repeating what everyone else has been saying for the last couple of weeks, for sure. But I will say this: one of the things that I learned as I was student teaching was he passed off pretty quickly to me the elementary music, because that was his least favorite thing to do. But he did it well. He just that was the easy thing to start with. But pretty quickly, he allowed me to do some conducting in the 5th grade, 6th grade bands, but in the high school bands where I was really itching to go. I never said anything to him, but one day he said, okay, we have this concert and then we have this Christmas concert. And so here's a stack of music. Go through and pick out, 6, 8, 9 pieces. And I said, okay, you want me to pick them? He said, yeah, I want you to pick them. And I said, okay. So I went through them, pulled them out, and he goes, okay, you're going to teach them all of these, and you're going to conduct the entire high school part of the Christmas concert.
Wow.
And I went, wow, that's okay.
Yeah.
I was all for that. I was pretty scared about it at first, but anyway, we got to the point where it was almost time for the concert, and one of the first chair flute players said, Mr. Lewis really likes you, And I said, I respect him incredibly, and he is such a wonderful man. She goes, no, I mean, every student teacher that's been here ahead of you got to pick one piece and conduct on the Christmas concert. And he's having you do the whole thing. Wow. You could have picked my jaw off of the floor, but I knew right then that man was instilling in me so many things that I had not really taken to heart until that point. Yeah. And so, the affection that one has for someone that you respect like that is just it's just amazing. Yeah. And I learned that that's the way he treated everybody.
Right.
It wasn't just me.
Right.
but I felt it that day in a big time way.
That's really neat.
Yeah.
Was there just one band, one high school band at the time? Had it been split yet to varsity and JV band?
We split it when I came back.
Oh, okay.
Yep. When I came back to teach full time, then he had me do the 7th grade band, the 8th grade band, and then he split the freshmen off, and we had a freshman band, and we marched together.
Mm-hmm.
But then we split apart for concert season.
I think that's when I was in band.
Yeah, that's a
Freshman, sophomore
JV
year.
band.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to get through the 10th unit of the Rubank book.
Exactly.
Before they could go to the
Yeah.
varsity
Yeah,
band.
even if you came late like Mark Lawley.
Right, yeah.
Mark did not like it when I said, "No, you've got to start here with this." And he goes, but, and I said, "You're in the Marshfield band system now, buddy. This is the way it goes."
Is that right? There's
Yeah.
another fellow that
Yeah.
looked excelled.
And,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
really,
emphatically
really,
so, yes.
really good. Yeah.
Yes.
Kathy, how about you?
Well, the the first concert I directed, he had me come over to the house afterwards. He taped everything to listen to the tape and give me some feedback on how things went and where improvements could be made, I'm sure. And while I was there, he had started making his own wine. So he offered me a glass of wine, and it was pretty good. And so he offered me another one, and I took it. And the next
It was
morning,
even better.
It was. And the next morning, the secretary called me and said, "Cathy, are you coming to school today?" Because I had overslept through my alarm. Totally. And I was late. And he did not ever let me forget that in a long time. As later years, I was the Tri-M chair. The Tri-M Music Honor Society is like National Honor Society for musicians. So I was the Tri-M chair at MMEA on our state music educators board, and he was the editor of the magazine. So part of my job was to write an article for the quarterly magazine.
Yeah.
And I was always turning it in late. I was always late, begging him, "Please, can I just have another night?" And I would owe him a margarita for that. So I probably still owe him more margaritas than he owes people Cokes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I owed him a margarita for that.
You know, one of the things that's really important to me in my memory bank of him, too, is how important November the 11th at 11 o'clock became.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
Because it
indeed.
was important to him. And as, you know, as a military person,
Yeah.
I mean, my dad had been in the Navy, but growing up, I never
Didn't think much about it,
I
did
just
we?
didn't think too much about it. But coming here, the very first year that here that happens during my student teaching
Right.
time, I knew right away that was going to be something we
Right.
always took care of.
Right.
That and Easter sunrise times with small ensembles going to play. 4th of July, of course. Marshfield was so famous for its 4th of July things, but
Right.
I'm sure his parading had a lot to do with that too. And
Absolutely.
everybody comes home for the 4th of July. Really? In this town, oh yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And so
It is.
you learn to appreciate the patriotic part of his life as well.
One thing on that military story I can remember, and he and I have talked about this a time or two. He was of the Korean era, you know, and my dad was of that Korean, the silent generation, and but he had such a respect for the World War II guys, and most of the Korean guys did, because they were just a little bit too young, but they were observing and watching these guys. And I know he told me one time he never really felt like he deserved the recognition of being a veteran, like, say, Bob Abbott, who was in church with him, who was in the Pacific and saw stuff that wouldn't even talk about, you know. And of course, he and Pat, I've had her on, and it's a wonderful story. You know, they got married, and she didn't get to see him for 9 months after their 2 nights of honeymoon, and then she got to go out and see him for a couple of nights, came back home and didn't get to see him for another 9 months. He was in the Pacific. And I know Mr. Lewis, we talked about that, and he just had such a respect for those guys. And I think that's part of why he treated, or acted like that on Veterans Day, because of that generation that, just gave it all. The greatest generation.
Exactly.
No doubt about that.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Well, Mark brought up the sight reading business, which is so important. His process of getting them musically literate was really important, because if they can read it for themselves, they can teach themselves how to play anything, and so I remember one year they were working on, the first and second suites for military band, and the whole suites, and I can't remember which one they were working on, but it wasn't happening. It just was not happening. 2 weeks before contest, he decided to do the other one.
Yeah.
He gave them new music 2 weeks before contest, and they got a one at contest. And if they hadn't been able to read, like he had brought them up from puppies to be able to do, they never would have been able to pull that off.
Right.
And that was a point of pride in sight reading to always get that one. And even had sight reading demonstrations on the concert. They have the kids sight read, which I think is really great, because a lot of parents don't even understand what that process is.
Exactly.
And they can see what kind of pressure there is in that situation, what their kids are being asked to do, and how they're doing it very well.
Right.
So that was really important. I was going to go somewhere else with the sight reading thing, but I just
think on it a minute.
I
Let me
will.
just say back to a point I had made earlier. Why I wanted to do student teaching with him is because when I first met him, I had come to Marshfield for a weekend to play for a gal who was from here, who was going to sing at church, solo at church, and so I came to accompany her, and I just met who he was, and nothing else. But she talked about him all the time.
Yeah.
So I am probably a sophomore in college, and he brings the high school band to do a concert in the spring in our chapel.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, that's bold. Bringing a high school band in where there are a lot of music majors who, are pretty good band students, and we got all this going on. That's bold, isn't it? And they were good, and I was kind of sitting like this looking, and all of a sudden they're finishing 2/3 of their concert, and my band director brought out an envelope out, and he goes, "Here you go." And he announces to us, they have never seen this. D. Lewis has never seen this. Students haven't. Passed it out, gave them 5 minutes to look at it, and then they played it like they had rehearsed it for weeks. And I went, that's the man I want to study with.
Right.
That is exactly the reason. And to be able to see what happens when you teach kids from the beginning how to do that, it just blew my mind. It blew my mind. And that is on my list of things that was so very important to me.
Sure. I've thought about, we hear, and this may be a little chauvinistic, we've always heard behind every good man's a good woman, it should be the other way around, really, but in today's times. But, Donna, I mean, she probably doesn't get the credit, but we know that he accomplished what he did because she was right there.
Absolutely.
Managing the family, he did give her the credit. But they were a team. I mean, he called her Donnie, and I mean, they went on and went from his career unheralded, nobody reached the pinnacle that he did. And then he went on and got in the rental business, and Melanie and I bought a duplex from him and Donna one time. He told me, he said, "We've done better with this real estate than we did all those years teaching, And they were good at it. I mean, they had lots of property, and it accumulated that. And then, of course, bought farm and had cattle, and he cut his own hay. I mean,
talked about his tick ranch.
Yeah, like he was the kind of guy. He set his mind to want to do something, and he would do it. Yeah. And she probably is the reason, if you want to know the truth, because she supported him. She probably managed the checkbook and the whole thing.
She had the business.
And it was absolutely. It was a real partnership, and I admire that.
Absolutely right.
So. Well, we've got about 10 minutes left, so we've still got a little bit of time.
I got to tell you about...
She's got a story.
I ended up directing the piano concert for the Cherry Blossom Festival this year.
Oh, wow.
And I went to see Dee get his award medal. Mm-hmm. And so Christy was telling him, Cathy's going to be directing that piano concert. You want to go? And he goes, I don't know. That's piano music. I just like band music. So I didn't expect him to come. But he did come. And so afterwards he came up and shook my hand. He said, I think you followed them pretty well.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, they did the same thing with Barth. He had a big cantata at Schweitzer, at Christmas
Yeah.
time, and Christy and Kevin brought Dee up there, and
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
got to
he
be there
enjoyed
and
it.
see
Yeah,
it
that's
there.
right. You were
Yeah.
there too. That's right.
Yeah,
But-
because Barth told me
Yeah.
Dee's going to be
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
going to
yeah.
be there too. So.
But he had such an interest in these lifelong students, that he taught and mentored, and it was pretty neat that he still remained involved in their lives
Yeah.
to some extent.
When I finished my student teaching in December, had a couple of weeks off, and then in late January I was doing my senior piano recital. He brought a carload of students over to be there for that
Yeah,
recital.
yeah.
They brought me flowers,
Oh my!
and
Wow.
he was right there with them. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to understand that until you see it in action.
Mhm.
But that was the man who cared about
Yeah.
people that he loved, and
He was
cared
all
for.
in.
He
All
was
in.
all in.
That's right.
And something that I really got from him, because I was so young and so green at the time, I remember I was in charge of the solos and ensembles for the JV band. So he was watching me work with a group, and he said, different things bother different people. And what I was so laser focused on was to write notes, write rhythm, together. And he said, I can take a few wrong notes if I can hear it played musically, if I hear the music in it. And that just boom, lit me up oh yeah, I'm kind of leaving something very important out here. But he would tell them, and I still do this to this day, if I'm working with an ensemble, I'll say, hey, gets them all tuned up, ready to play for the judge. And he said, you've all practiced the notes and the rhythms, don't worry about those, play the music.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said that probably a million times, but
Yeah.
it just really changed my whole priority.
I'll bet
Right,
it makes a difference in how you judge when you're doing the judging for
Yes.
other ensembles and groups as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something he was instrumental in, not pun intended.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
No, there was a time when solos had to be memorized,
Mm-hmm.
and he always maintained that was ridiculous. All that showed was how well you memorized, not
Yeah.
what a good musician you were.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one year we had this very fine flute player, and she just could not memorize. And so she was playing her solo and crashed and burned. You just
Yeah.
couldn't do it. It's a memory
Yeah.
problem. So Dee said, listen, I just want to make a point here, and I don't want you to change anything with your judging, but I just want you to find out something here. And he said, would you go ahead, pick up where you left off, but use your music to play it. And she played it, and it was just
Really.
tears in the eyes, beautiful.
Really.
And he said, this is the point I'm trying to make,
Right.
and it finally happened that they did away with that memorization
Really?
rule.
Fantastic.
And his
I
thing.
did not
Wow.
know that.
Yeah.
I guess he's probably received every award available in the music educators associations.
Yeah, he's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
State Music
that's what-
Educators, and
yeah.
there's a legacy scholarship in his name now that we are part of, and Bob Altman and Rex McCarter.
Yeah.
And
I'm leaving out. So Lori.
Lori,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Yeah.
So is that like in the state of Missouri? A lot of those
Yeah.
associations are state of Missouri stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this legacy scholarship is to help a young band director or a young music educator, because when you're starting out, you're not making enough money to go stay at what is now Margaritaville
Yeah.
for that
Sure.
conference.
Yeah.
And the conference is so valuable.
Yes.
You learn so much there, and so that helps pay their expenses.
Sure.
And carry on his legacy of raising
Yeah.
more music
Yeah.
educators.
Yeah. And I'm on the Marshfield Public School Foundation board, and Christie's on it too now. And of course, there's a scholarship fund there as well. It was established when Donna passed away, and then now, of course, those contributions will go to he'll be added to that fund as well. So again, these are great ways to honor a great man, and they're out there, and people can contribute if they like, and I'm sure that will be part of the memorials to those funds. So. Well, this has been great. I really appreciate you coming in and
Thank you so much
yeah,
for inviting
yeah,
me
yeah.
to, and both
It
of
was an
us.
honor.
yeah. And tomorrow's going to be a very bittersweet day. I mean, certainly,
Absolutely.
But he's with Donna,
but he's with Donna, and
Yeah.
he had a great life and
Yeah.
a great run, and
and he just
he
missed her
reached the
yesterday.
pinnacle of about anything he touched.
Yeah.
And so, what else can you ask for? And of course, the greatest thing is that he knew the Lord. he was
Exactly right.
that was important in his life, and that's
I got to work alongside him at church for
Yeah.
all those years
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
You know, I played some of the things for his choir, but mostly I was just in his choir, or I was doing the youth choir or the children's choir or
Right.
whatever. But he would occasionally call me on Sunday morning. I'm really not feeling well today. Can you lead music today? Oh yeah. You
Yeah.
know, it was
Yeah.
just that kind of thing. That relationship, because he loved the Lord so much.
Yes.
It was a great
yeah.
part of the friendship
Yeah.
that we shared.
I guess my fondest memory in recent days would be the fact that you were there when he received his Cherry Blossom Medal, and at the Sunday prior to the festival, and I received mine that particular Sunday. And of course, he as he came down the aisle and we greeted each other, and he said, "I just can't think of anyone I'd rather receive my medal with today," or something like that. And again, just made me feel great, you know. And I'm sure there would have been many others he would have enjoyed receiving a medal with, but he made me feel good for that moment.
That
He's that kind of a guy. I think I got a message on here. I just want to make sure it's not someone sending me a message. No, it's not. Okay, just want to make sure. So, if somebody was wanting to make a comment or something, we'd certainly let them. So, well, any final parting thoughts? Now, are you in for a while, or
No, we just came for this.
Did you?
Well, we had one other incident. Our nephew had open heart surgery yesterday,
wow.
so we were
My.
kind of doing that backup. But we'd
Sure.
already planned to come for this, so
Sure.
that worked out well. So we'll be leaving on Monday or
On
Tuesday.
and where do you live now?
Well, we lived in Richmond, Virginia for 15 years,
Okay.
but 2 years ago we moved a little bit north, just outside of D.C. on the northwest side, and we live in Aldie, Virginia now. But we live next door to our daughter and her family.
Oh.
We share a townhouse wall,
Yeah,
so you can't beat that.
Yeah.
yeah. And you had 2 children?
I have 2 children.
Yeah, and are they both in the area? Or
Our son and his family are missionaries in the Middle East.
are they?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you get to see them often? Not as often
we
as you
have
like,
visited
probably.
them twice,
Yeah.
but we do FaceTime with them every week.
Is that a little bit uneasy for them to be in the Middle East?
It is. They are in the heat.
Are they? Wow.
Yeah. But they're doing great. The Lord is just blessing,
That's what
and
they like.
He's given them the strength they need to work through those things.
And Lynn's doing well?
He is.
Yeah.
He is. Yeah.
Good.
We love retirement, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
we're busier than we ever thought we
I
would
hear
be.
ya. It's
I
funny how
thought
that
I had
works.
all these things I was going to do. I
Yeah.
have not done any of them.
You know, I understand.
I've got to tell you one more.
Yeah,
Although we'll probably keep coming up
We
with
got
one
we
more.
got time.
We do
got
have
time.
When Dee retired, the kids and boosters, everybody got him a really nice watch. Okay, so we were out practicing for something, and we knew that Bob Altman was coming in, to be the new band director, and he was telling the story. He said his brother wanted to buy a horse, and the first place he went to, the owner demonstrated the horse, put it through its paces. It was beautiful. It did a great job. But when his brother got on it, it didn't perform the same. Didn't do the same. So he went to another farm, and the owner again rode the horse, put it through its paces. Beautiful job. His brother got on the horse, operated exactly the same way. And he said, so what I'm telling you is, if I ever come to a concert and I see that you are not behaving and performing to my expectations just because somebody else is on the podium, I'll never wear this watch again.
Wow.
Wow.
So-
That is pretty neat.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a great story.
That's a good lesson for all of us in anything we do.
Yep.
That's great. Rex McCarter just sent me a message. Great podcast. Thank you, Rex.
But nice for him to be here too.
Yeah.
I bet he's got stories.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
All of y'all have more stories because once I left, we were out of the country,
Sure.
and I didn't get to keep up the close things except for those, once every 3 years or
Yeah.
whatever. But I knew right where he and Donna were sitting, so I'd get my hugs when we would come to church. But I missed a whole lot of these things that I'm
But your
so glad
perspective is very, very special because you you were here, and then you've been gone all those years, but he's still that impactful.
Absolutely. And almost everybody I know knows that who my mentor was, because I've talked about him in every kind of situation that you can imagine.
Yeah.
And,
I told Tim what you said about sometimes directing to records, to recordings, because you missed directing, and he teared up.
Yeah.
He missed you.
Yeah.
I didn't say this either, but for several years after I left, I had dreams at least 2 or 3 times a week that I was either getting ready to direct and he was sitting over here, or he was directing and I was going to follow him.
Yeah.
And I would wake up and just go, oh, no, I the tears in my eyes. I missed being around him so much.
Yeah.
I asked a couple of students one time, "You think that's just weird? Is that weird that I do that?" I said, "No, I believe that's because
we've all
you
had
a great
mentors in our
friendship
life,
like that."
Especially as we start our careers. I think we have people that influence us, and I got something I want to show you real quick. Be right back.
All right.
Go.
I have to tell you a story. When I first started, I followed you, and you were very beloved, obviously, and some of the little flute girls were a little snippy with me, a little mean, and weren't very nice at all, and made things hard for me. So years later, I ran into one of them, and she said, "Oh, Miss Coonis, all of us that were in that first JV band, we should just get down and kiss your feet and apologize for how bad we were to you." She said, "You know what? I'm a teacher now, and teaching is hard."
Yes, it is.
I'm so glad you learned that.
Miss Coonis, have you? I'm sure you. Do you have one of those? Do you have one of those?
I probably do actually have one of these.
So this is a LP for you young people. This is a vinyl record album.
Wow.
It's a little like
from 1983.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go.
There you are.
1983. And it says Marshfield Bands in Review.
Wow.
1983 Marshfield High School and Junior High Bands. Franklin D. Lewis and Cathy Coonis directors.
Sweet.
Exaltation.
Yep.
And I'm fortunate this one still has the plastic on it. So for you collectors, I know that's a value. The other one's a little bit faded.
I'd like the wind.
This is pretty neat. This is really neat. And it's got a list of all of the band boosters on the back, and there's that's probably the whole Chamber of Commerce. We have 272 members of the Chamber of Commerce. I'm on the board this year, and this is probably 50, and that's probably about how many that it had. But anyway, it's pretty cool. I thought I'd show you that.
That is wonderful.
I have to tell you something else I forgot too. You know, one year, Dee wrote a halftime show for his and Donna's anniversary.
Oh,
really?
Yes, and it was so fun to keep it a secret from her. We had to turn down the microphone out on the field so she couldn't hear him talking to it. And it was things like, if I was a jeweler, I would buy her a really nice ring. And the kids made a ring and they played a song, Or if I was
cool. That's neat.
And made a whole halftime show in her honor for their anniversary.
Yeah, awesome. That's
so
great.
much fun.
I've got this too, and I thought I'd show you this. This is Beckerdite Music Store.
Oh, I was going to mention Paul.
Beckerdite.
Store behind the leader of the band.
That's right.
Oh my gosh, what a great
Now, Rex
guy.
McCarger, does that bring back a memory?
There you go.
Would.
Right there.
And I'm not sure what era this would have been. It might have been after Rex's era, but it's still pretty neat. And it was a folder of a music folder.
And they
of
still
course,
make folders like that.
on
But
the
it doesn't
inside-
say Beckerdite.
On
No.
this inside, it's got time signatures, notes and rests, circle of fifths, musical terms. So I think that's pretty cool too. But that, I'm sure, would have been Mr. Lewis's era. I would imagine.
Oh, definitely.
He and Paul Beckerdite had such a good relationship.
In fact, in my student teaching first week, one of the first things I was supposed to do was help conduct the song flutes.
Oh,
Well, I had never seen a song flute. We didn't do song flutes in my time in school, and so I said, "Well, what do I do?" He goes, "Well, you go by Beckerdite's store right after school. They can get you one, and you do this tomorrow." I said, "Okay."
Oh yeah.
Well, it wasn't hard to learn how, but I'd never seen one, so I didn't know what we were going to do with 120 song flutes, and then wonderful.
Right.
Again, it's
in
that
those
beginning.
days, if you didn't go to Beckerdites to get your instrument, you just didn't quite have the right instrument. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but back in those days, that's kind of how it
I
was.
brought Paul instruments from Dixon sometimes down here to get them repaired because he did such an incredible job.
It was just the way it was. So
Yeah.
All right. Well, it is 8:01, so we made our hour, and
Thank you so much.
yeah, thank you
yes.
guys. It's been very, very, very fun, and I appreciate it. And the series of podcasts, we're up into the 90s now. We'll be out there, I guess, forever if there's a data center for them to be stored in. We won't go down that road, but no, the information that we get on these little podcasts are just invaluable, and I think future generations will enjoy them. I'm so glad that we had the interview with Mr. Lewis.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
when
wonderful.
we did, and we have that out there. And if you haven't reviewed it, watch it. Just type in Marshfield Old School Times on YouTube, and then D. Lewis, and it should pop right up. So it's just great being from Marshfield, and this is another reason.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we'll see you all later, and condolences to the Lewis family, and we'll see you at the service tomorrow. Thank you.